Well, good morning. It's 10:05. So today we're going to be discussing how to make AI work for you in collaboration with GlobeNorth. My name is Angela Gibson. I'm the founder of Abraham's Consulting. We're a minority women-owned small business serving New York City, state, and the federal government for the past 19 years. So since 2006. And as you can see on the slide, I'm not very good at slides, but we don't do everything, but AI implementation is certainly one of them, and that's why we are focused on that today in collaboration with GlobeNorth. IT staffing, we continue to place numerous technical talent on all the city agencies here in New York. We are resellers of hardware and software, provide cloud solutions, network management as a service, niche solutions around security, storage, and networking, and other professional services, integration, implementation, data security, you name it, and managed IT services. So why am I telling you all this? So that you can schedule your consultation in case any of those services appeal to you, because we certainly have been doing it for a while and we do it well. So at this juncture, I'm going to hand it over to Gregory North, our collaborator here for AI implementations. Thank you. Welcome.
Thanks so much, Angela. It's a privilege to be here with you all today in this webinar, also to be a partner working closely with Abraham's Consulting. And what we're going to do today is have a conversation around the concept of artificial intelligence and how to make it work for you. Just quickly, a little bit about GlobeNorth. We've been in business since 2019. Our team comes from organizations, Fortune 500 companies around the world, bringing together talent that can be applied in the not just private sector, but the public sector, the nonprofit sector, to bring those skills to bear to help you with your strategies, to help you improve and automate your processes, transform your business operations. We work with leaders at all levels of the organization, and we help employees achieve their capabilities to the highest level. One of the things that's been most exciting the last few years is the explosion of interest in and the work that we're doing with organizations in AI, and specifically recent engagements in the AI space in the public sector, including helping to launch enterprise Gen AI pilots. We'll talk about Gen AI a lot in just a few minutes. Working with public sector organizations on their policies for AI to make sure they're safe and smart in place, and also working to take a look at how AI is going to change the landscape of systems and work with them on their technology roadmaps so their enterprise resource planning systems of the future, taking into account what AI can do for them. So all of these represent opportunities that we need to start taking full advantage of in the public sector. Today, we're going to talk about quickly the state of AI, where it is now and why it is exploding in terms of its capabilities and also its capacity to be helpful to us. Specifically, what is the implications of that for your employees and their productivity? How can that help you with your challenges in the public sector space, and what type of strategic alignment you need to have in order to take full advantage of AI, but also to be using it in a way that's going to ensure compliance, it's going to ensure security, and also finally resolve and process any questions that you have with us on this webinar today. So let's dive right in. So first, let's talk about the state of AI. And before we do that, we might want to define what we mean by AI. It's a term we hear a lot now. And ultimately, artificial intelligence is referring to computers that perform tasks that we usually associate with human intelligence. So that could be understanding or communicating through language. It could be looking at patterns and recognizing those, problem solving. It could be taking and making predictions, and based on those predictions, making decisions. My simple definition that I like to use is machines that simulate human intelligence. And I really want you to circle the word simulate in your mind here, because this is not human intelligence. This is machine intelligence. It's different than the way we think. And we have to understand the things that machines are really good at, but we also have to keep humans in the center of what we're doing. Keeping humans in the loop, human centricity is the key to AI success. So machines that simulate human intelligence is a good starting point for thinking about AI. Why is it that in the last few years, we're seeing this rapid growth in terms of the adoption of AI and the types of capabilities that AI has available to us, not just in a workplace scenario, but really in our homes, in the car, everywhere we're going? The power in our hand with a smartphone is often turbocharged by artificial intelligence. Why? Well, three things working together have really resulted in this takeoff. Because the basic models, like neural networks that have been around for decades, have been available to help people be able to create machine intelligence and drive machine learning. But through the power of the web and connecting all around the world, databases, the ability through connectivity and mobility, connecting phones, we are now crowdsourcing tremendous amounts of data every single minute. And all that data is going into the cloud and is made available, therefore, to train these machines. And these machines are being trained on trillions of bytes of information with remarkably powerful compute systems. Those compute systems allow them to do the type of learning that may have taken years in the past is now taking weeks or months. So connectivity, data, and compute has taken off. And with that takeoff, we've seen machine learning at warp speed. These rapidly evolving capabilities, things that we used to associate primarily with humans, are things now that machines do extremely well. They can communicate in ways that often is indistinguishable from human speech. They are able to read through materials. They can source all the information that's publicly available on the internet. They can do data analysis. They can look at images and identify what they are, but they can also create new images. They're really good at helping us brainstorm, providing new ideas and feedback. They can write code. They can respond to customer service or internal employee requests through chat. They can automate processes, and even through agentic AI, they can really process multiple tasks at the same time and then come back and give you an email and say, hey, I'm working on this. I'm not quite done with that. I'll have this for you in a few minutes. All of that is happening at a very rapid level and rate of learning. And that rate of learning means that where AI is at any given moment is a moving target. It means that we have to be constantly thinking about not just where AI is now, but where is it going to be soon, and how are we aligning our organizations to not only be able to take advantage of it, but to be aware of where AI is already present in our workplace. You may have heard of the term generative AI or Gen AI. It is a game changer. Since the pandemic and the takeoff of solutions like OpenAI's ChatGPT, there has been an ability of large language models to begin to not just do some of the things that we talked about a moment ago in terms of machine capabilities, they're doing all of these things. As we grew up, we were used to the idea that you would go off and procure an AI solution that did one thing really well. An application had one primary focus. If it was Excel, it was about calculations. It was about PowerPoint, it was about images. It was about Word, it was about text. Now we're seeing Gen AI tools master all of those capabilities and be able to do that for you. And because they can write software, it also means that if there's a skill they don't have, they can write code to develop that skill and then to bring it on board for you. So the machines are learning very quickly. Gen AI platforms like Claude, Copilot, ChatGPT are, in a sense, Swiss Army knives that when you have them available to you as an organization, they give you a variety of capabilities and an expanding set of capabilities that you can tap system-wide, but also at the individual staff member level. And that is the explanation of why the takeoff of this Gen AI platforms has been remarkable. Within a week or so, you had millions of users for ChatGPT. We're seeing billions of users now worldwide for Gen AI tools in total. By the end of 2024, it was being reported in Tech Business News that 92% of Fortune 500 companies are using ChatGPT. And if you take into account the other platforms that are out there, basically we've already reached market saturation in terms of the fact that these are penetrating corporations around the world. Public sector has gotten the message and is catching up quickly to the private sector. We still have some work to do, but I'm very excited to share with you some examples of what's going on in that space as well. But what's most important to get out of this discussion is that AI is not something coming to a theater near us soon. AI is here now, it's present. It is the world that we are living in. It is the process that we're moving through. And we, as leaders in our organizations, have to start thinking about what's the roadmap that we're going to use to traverse the AI landscape? Where are we in the journey of either developing some awareness in our organization of what AI can do for us, beginning to explore that possibility through things that we might be doing to test out different capabilities and different aspects of our operations? We could be experimenting with specific ideas about how to bring in AI capability and start developing models within our own organizations, as well as procuring models from outside, integrating those into our business operations and realizing the benefits of those, finally beginning to optimize the way we do work on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, because AI is a teammate right there next to us, not just at the employee task level, but all the way up through senior executive leadership, helping us make better decisions, respond faster, and achieve greater mission success. So my first question for you, the beginning of the interactive part of our program, is where are you in your AI journey? Thinking about all this amazing capability that's being developed so quickly, and the fact that some of us are just getting started, others of us are pretty much in the process of deploying. Some are maybe in the position where we'd like to share some successes because we think we've got best practices. Take a moment and type into the chat what you think would be a good way of describing where you are in your journey today.
Beautiful. I see here that JC says he uses it daily. Please light up the chats with your comments. It helps us with the feedback.
So we've got some daily users already. That's not surprising. We said it's.
Yes.
What are some other comments, Angela?
Somebody's drafting. Bob is drafting his AI policy right now.
Excellent. One of the things that we're going to talk about in just a few minutes is what makes the elements of a successful AI policy and how to avoid some of the common pitfalls we see in policy development.
And Bob is at the beginning of the deployment. Carrie uses it daily. She's in the process of establishing a policy.
Excellent.
They're on their game.
So it sounds like we're in a situation here where we've got mixed use. Individually, and we see this all over the country, individually, we as users are beginning to build, especially Gen AI, like ChatGPT, into our daily lives. It's part of our work environment. As I like to say, it's our digital teammate. But our organizations, in many cases, have not caught up with us. We're doing the work, but our organizations have not yet really figured out how to make this all work for us. With that, let's talk a little bit about what that could look like, Angela, in terms of employee productivity and benefits to the citizens that are served by the agencies that we represent. So again, the term digital teammate is important from my perspective because the lens we use at GlobeNorth is not the lens of IT and thinking about these as digital solutions, like we're procuring a piece of software. It's more the lens of human resources. And what we're doing is we're acquiring a new team member. And these new team members have capabilities that they are bringing in, but they also have capabilities that they are capable of learning. So you can have a team member whose job it is to respond to your inquiries, either to citizens you support or to perhaps your staff. And how can you help train that new employee, that new digital teammate? Well, because it's already got a large language model that provides great chat capability, but on top of that, you can use retrieval augmented generation, RAG, to basically provide it with your policies so it specifically can respond just the way your organization wants it to and stay within the boundaries of what you consider to be an appropriate response. You can fine-tune through coaching the tone, the way they interact with people to make sure that it's responding in a way that's consistent with your messaging. You can give it links to send that make it integrate with your systems and point people towards where they can get the right information. So ultimately, think about this as a new digital teammate that you're onboarding, that you are training. You're not training the model because the models are already trained for you. What you're training them is in the capabilities, the knowledge that's specific to your organizations. You can also conduct research and do reports. Deep research is a function that allows you to have things that could take literally years of scanning to do, could be done in hours by something like ChatGPT. And that analysis can then be synthesized, summarized, and put together in formats that allow you to take that and do presentations internally as well as externally. You not only can develop training curriculum, but you can put the whole program together, including creating visuals, videos, podcasts. And because these capabilities now include software generation, you can have a new set of partners on your IT team to help you rapidly respond to generate programs and websites. And also this means that we're moving from the low code to the no code world where Angela and I could say, hey, it would really be great if we could have this particular thing, and we can turn to our digital teammate and it can generate the code for us to do that just because we gave it a plain English prompt. Not a replacement for humans in the loop, not a replacement for humans in IT who would make sure that code is the right code and it's working appropriately. But the point is, that's an incredible jumpstart on what we have in terms of capability before. And how are we starting to see this turn into specific use cases in the public sector? Well, one good example of this is the millions of transactions that are going through the IRS every year through their Ask IRS chatbot, where they've shifted a very significant percentage of their call volume to chat with an extremely high level of customer success. 90% resolution rates of their requests based upon customer feedback working through the chat channel versus having to call an employee, freeing up those employees to do more value-added work within the company, but also giving people a chance to do this 24/7 without having to work only when the call center is open. Another example at the state level, the remarkably successful Commonwealth of Pennsylvania pilot with OpenAI, they looked very specifically at savings, efficiency, productivity. So they had the people who were involved in the pilot self-report they were saving hours a day in their work. They described their experience as being excellent. And when they looked at end-to-end processes like the time to hire, where they were able to take form production, interview scheduling, a whole series of tasks left to right in the end-to-end talent acquisition process to go from 90 to 60 days, a major improvement. All this happening within a scope of the GenAI pilot, which is then expanded to be, like many other pilots we're starting to see around the country at the federal and state level, and even regionally where we're involved with a GenAI pilot right now with a very large organization in the New York City area, work to make sure this is now becoming something that's available for all employees to use as opposed to just the pilot participation. A superpower that AI has is its ability to process tremendous amounts of information in near real time. So think about all of the information that's coming in from cameras on buses and trolleys in the city of Philadelphia. And those cameras are feeding information into a database that AI cameras are using to identify infractions. So they're looking in real time, seeing, oh, this is something you should identify as a transaction, as a potential infraction. In just 7 days, they found 36,000 infractions in this Philadelphia study, which equated to about $2.7 million in fines identified that otherwise might have been missed. So both in terms of compliance, reducing congestion, and increasing revenue, AI gives us an additional workforce that's out there that's constantly vigilant and more capable of identifying things like fare evasion, things like fines that could be applied if people are using the traffic patterns inappropriately. So all of those are use cases that we're seeing that are very exciting at the federal, state, and local level. People are using these to help them with research, to help them with content generation, help them with analytics, help them with designing training programs, creating chatbots, both internal and external, writing software. It's almost as if we could go on for hours describing the use cases because the capabilities are expanding and the use cases are expanding with them. Let's take a moment again to pause, Angela, and let's pulse the team here. And what are some of the use cases? We heard people are already using AI to some extent today. Some said daily. In your organizations, what would you say the use cases are most beneficial today for you, or ones that you're most excited about looking at in the future? Let's type that in the chat.
Do light up the chat. Thank you. Your use cases most exciting to you.
Especially those ones that people that said they were using it daily. Let's get a sense of what you're using it for.
I'm not seeing any.
Of the ones, if you're not using them today, of the ones you've heard about so far that I've talked about, which ones would you say have the greatest potential for your organization?
Well, Bob says he's using it in citizen-facing chatbots.
Excellent.
Robert is creating scripts. Robert Galvin.
Excellent.
And documentations. And Stephen Fisher, AI chatbots and process automation. JC,
Process automation.
for
Go ahead.
proposal writing. I like that use. Write a lot of proposals. Also, he has it as a digital engineer to help him code. Listen to that.
Yeah, and I love the fact that the term was help him code, because in that situation, what we're looking at is basically the ability for them to be in our, if you will, team, saying, hey, here's some additional help I can give you on code. Ultimately, you're going to own and be responsible for the production of that code. but you've got a partner there that'll help you do it faster. What are some other examples?
Gary is using it. Oh, the thing jumped so fast for large documents. To summarize large documents. I can feel that. Ling is using it to we intend to do statistics analysis, sophisticated stuff. Robert, more research of specific topics. He's using it a lot, Robert Galvin.
It's wonderful. I think one of the things that I would say is most exciting about the work that we're beginning to see with Gen AI becoming a partner for you is that to some extent, your imagination is the boundary condition for what AI can do for you. I'll say that again. Your imagination is the boundary condition for what AI can do for you. So the more we are thinking about the possible ways in which it can help us, the more that we can do this in such a way that ultimately is stretching the boundaries of what its capabilities are. We can pressure test those, but we can also think about how, again, we're doing this in a way that's very human-centric. So let me ask again. Is the other one, Angela?
This one sounds exciting. JC is going to attempt today to have it review 16 resumes for him and to narrow it down to 5 top candidates. And he's trying to figure out a prompt for that. Wish me luck. Maybe you can give him some luck, Gregory.
JC, we're wishing you luck, but I also want to make a comment about, we'll talk about this when we talk about strategy and policy and security in a moment. But like one of the things that it's really important for us to think about is the fact that ultimately we have this teammate who can help us by giving us some additional ideas, by giving us an ability to go through and generate, to your point, JC, a lot of resumes very quickly. But ultimately, those resumes need to reflect your needs, your requirements, but also the values of your organization. This is where we have to be on the lookout for bias, look out for errors, because what you don't want to do is fall in the trap that some organizations have had. That if you've heard this particular example, one very large organization that's famous for its online retail early on tried to turn a lot of its resume screening process over to AI. And what it did was it took all the resumes that had been accepted over the last 10 years, it uploaded those and said, okay, now go tell us who we want to interview. All it did was reinforce the bias of the organization over the last 10 years. So think about, as you're doing this, as you're working on these use cases, how to ensure that you're thinking about, are we using this in a way that's consistent with our values and our mission in our organizations? With that, I'm going to keep going and go straight into strategy. So if we think about the strategic environment that we're in today, as we work with organizations across the country in the space of beginning to explore what they should be doing, can be doing, in many cases must be doing, not just to keep up with the pace of change in AI, but also get on top of what people are already doing with AI, is really to recognize this fundamental truth that AI is not something that's still out there, which many of us, as we've grown up, have thought of AI as something that was maybe in the distant future, then it was around the corner. We really need to accept it's already here. And that means that our employees are already using AI today. And that means that we, as leaders of organizations, need to be thinking about this question of smart, safe use. Smart is in, are we doing it in such a way that it's really taking full advantage of capabilities? Are we really taking advantage of its ability to align to our strategic objectives, our imperatives as an organization? Safe in that, are we doing it in a way that maintains compliance, security? Ultimately, we need to get ahead of where our people already are, catch up with them to some extent, and to figure out how to make it work smartly and safely for us. And we say us here as the enterprise, the mission of the organization, whatever your agency's requirements and expectations are from the top of the house, and what the expectations of the citizens are that you serve. Here are some examples of really significant public sector challenges that we're already seeing AI play a major role in being able to address. So one example is data fragmentation. So I'll ask people to type in the chat if this is, just say yes, if this is something that they are experiencing in their organization. So yes would be, we have a situation today where there's lots of data in many different places of our organization, and it's hard to actually get it all together. It's hard to see the big picture. It's hard to connect the dots because a lot of the data in our organization is actually very fragmented. The way records are identified and stored, the way data is created and stored. Ultimately, that data fragmentation creates a bit of a research project where every time someone asks you a question, you feel like you have to put staff on it to go pull together that information. It's like pulling teeth, if you will. Does anyone have that challenge in their organizations today? If that's something that you've seen in your organization, one of the things that AI can begin to do is to surf across, giving you an ability to synthesize information across multiple data sets within your organization, pull together that information, and then take that synthesized information and play it back to you with summaries very quickly. So it helps you with data integration. It's not a replacement for good data strategy, good data management, but it's a good example of where it is beginning to help a lot. That also works with fragmentation outside of your organizations where you're pulling information from many different sources in order to inform your organizations. Infrastructure and public safety are remarkably large categories of work in AI today. Infrastructure, things like preventive maintenance, reduce costs associated with the resilience of structures. Public safety, examples like using AI, as we said a moment ago, in terms of traffic violations, but also security protections. Surveillance footage and monitoring. Productivity is a major opportunity because of workforce shortages. If you're facing situations where we just don't have enough staff, where it's hard for us to place new staff if we have openings, so we have an ability to scale now and get more work done with fewer people. Again, think human centricity here. The goal is not to replace people. The goal is to take work that is best done by AI and give it to AI and give our people an ability to do work that's more value added. Crisis response in public health. As we know, AI is extremely good with processing large amounts of information. So that means that the data sets that we need to respond to in crisis situations, which often are immense in terms of things that are happening in a flood situation or a hurricane, those a tremendous amount of data that's coming in terms of what's needed where and when. So logistics is one spot where AI can really help you figure out very quickly where do we most need help and how do we get that done. Same thing for public health, epidemic data. Endemic data allows us to look at patterns of disease and figure out how to prevent them by having better health policies. I mentioned bias is something we have to look out for in AI, but it's also an opportunity. We can use AI to help us think about equity and accessibility and analyze, for example, where do we have opportunities for more accessibility in our facilities? How do we take information that we're getting from the citizens who move through our facilities or use our organization's capabilities or services? How do we make sure that they have the most accessibility possible, and how do we process the feedback they're giving us on that? And then finally, we know we're trying to do a lot of work to reduce our carbon footprint and to get our energy efficiency up. This is both a cost play as well as a climate change mitigation play. There's tremendous amount of opportunity here to look at the information we have on energy use and find ways to leverage AI to have both real-time and long-term implications for reduction in carbon footprint. All these are challenges that hopefully are ones that you are aware of or see that you could potentially leverage AI in your organizations. Let's just check in with the team here. Are any of these examples of strategic challenges that you face is one that you would say is true in your organization? Any of these resonate with you? If one of these is something you know you're working on that's important to you, just type it into the chat and we'll capture that.
Steven says definitely for data fragmentation. But yes, you can continue to type in the chat.
Okay, thank you. Here are some examples of AI strategy questions that can help you jumpstart the question of how do you look at the leveraging the capability of AI within the organization. So one of the ones I like to start with most is where do we most need help? And it's not just with AI, it could be with any strategic lever that you're looking at for business transformation. But if you can find choke points, constraints to your organization where you most are constrained, those are ones that you most could perhaps benefit from relief if AI can provide you with productivity improvement or new insights on how a process is done today and how it can be done better tomorrow. Another question you might ask is, what capabilities do we need to have in-house to take full advantage of AI? Or what capabilities do we have to acquire or partner with? There's a constellation you're going to build of both internal and external capabilities. How do we knit together that constellation in a way that's as smart as possible? We don't want to have too much capability inside because ultimately this is moving so fast that some of the best ideas are probably outside your organization. Some of the best solutions are ones that are being developed by potentially partners of yours. But at the same time, we need enough capability inside that our folks can use this in a way that we can own its long-term success. We also have to think about data, not just in terms of the data that we're getting from AI, but the data we're giving to AI. So think about data as being the substrate, the platform on which all machine learning happens. It's also the input that produces the output from which we get the insights, the capabilities, the automation of AI. Garbage in, garbage out. It's been true for decades. It's true now. It's more true than ever before, because with the capacity and capability of AI, you can have worse things happening faster if we don't have the right data. Or you could spend millions of dollars to put in new AI capabilities, but we haven't got the data infrastructure to support that. So having a strong sense of what our data management, data governance, data readiness strategy is going to be is a key component of AI success. Equally important is how are we keeping our human population centered as we bring our AI workforce in? So the human population needs to have increased data affinity, increased AI affinity, the ability to work with side by side and as a partner with AI, not fearing what AI will do to it in terms of replacement, but rather thinking about how it can help us as a career development ladder, how it can give us new opportunities that perhaps are going to make jobs more fulfilling in the future, and how we can help our staff start to think about the fact that they've already got AI in their home life, in their commercial life. How can we fully take advantage of that in a workplace and really give them a sense that ultimately we're counting on them to be at the center of what we do with AI. And then finally, and really most importantly, we have the mission of our organization, the values of our organization, we have the compliance requirements, we have what we consider to be ethical use in our organization. Are we bringing in AI, both in terms of the way that we are using it and the way we can use it in a way that is completely consistent with our mission and our values? This is not just about policy compliance. This is heart stuff, not just head stuff. So the question is, are we doing the work with AI in a way that is making the world a better place, is making the lives of our staff better, is making our ability to serve the public that we are responsible for in a way that is more completely fulfilling? Ultimately, if we do that in a way that's ethical and safe, it will also result in a strategic advantage for organization going forward. Just as data is the platform, the substrate, the jet fuel that makes AI work, security and policy resilience, security and policy effectiveness is the framework in which AI either does or does not work safely in our organizations. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is not stop the use of AI. This isn't about pouring molasses in the system. This is about promoting the right uses of AI. We want to encourage people to be, again, developing affinity with AI, developing capacity with AI, but doing it the right way. And as I said earlier, it's a moving target. So the idea that we're going to have the perfect policy, we have to actually disabuse ourselves of that mythology. As AI is moving, we have to be agile as well, which means the policies we have today might not be sufficient in just 3 to 6 months. So iterative approaches to policy development is something we strongly encourage. Get your initial policies out there, contain the worst possible bad things from happening, but also encourage exploration. Begin to, as exploration expands to scaling, think about ways to provide more rigid, not rigid, but more effective governance. And as AI develops more of a place at the table, find ways to make that moving target become something that ultimately is describing how AI and humans work together. Which means that since I said earlier in our discussion today that AI is already here, we need to make that strategic insight a place we start. Policy in most cases needs to catch up and continue to evolve. Let's pause a minute here and go into the chat again, Angela. Can people just give us a sense in the chat? Are you in that sort of what I would call catch-up mode, where you feel like we're trying to get policy out there, or would you feel like we've already got policy in place? So just, I would say all set, is we're okay on policy, or catch up, we're still working on it. Go ahead and type your comments in the chat so we can get a sense of where you all are, okay?
Yes, go ahead, light it up.
Catch up or all set? And because it's a moving target, all set may just mean we're all set with like iteration now. We don't know
Catch up and still
next.
working on policies.
We're catching up.
Mhm.
Here are some things to think about as you begin to go through the mental checklist of developing your security and policy related to artificial intelligence. Certainly, data and privacy protection right at the top. Our data needs to be secured, but we also have to respect the privacy of those who are in our employee, our customers, our citizens. They're giving us information, PII, HI, basically this personal and health information is something that we need to protect. But just also, the data is the crown jewels of our organizations. And what is important for us to do is understand what needs to be protected and how it's protected. So that comes to us through our historical legacy in cybersecurity, and it applies even more so as we're moving into the AI world, where we're starting to provide much more information that's used for our employees in interacting with AI. Clear guidelines for procurement, so it's possible for us to make sure that we're making smart decisions about when and where we need to buy what, but also do it in such a way that it's bringing in capabilities that over time become extensible and scalable for organizations as opposed to a series of one-off purchases. One that I really do encourage us as leaders to think about is the recognition of creeping AI in our existing solutions that we already have in our software application mix in our organizations. So every organization is putting AI on the label, even if it doesn't have a lot of AI, and many of them are embedding AI in their offerings. And the new release comes out, and they never even told you they're adding AI to it. So understanding what that looks like, and understanding, by the way, the price increases that come with this in some cases, where they're going to say new improved AI, and oh, by the way, here's the new price. So you have both a cost issue and an understanding of control of where AI is in my environment that needs to require vigilance on your part as leaders looking across at where your procurement is allowing for the releases to, in a sense, just push new AI capabilities into your environment. Control over when you are going to engage a firm or internally are going to have models developed or trained on your data, which in some cases may make perfect sense for a very particular AI solution, versus in most cases wanting the models not to be trained on your data, but rather using capability like retrieval augmented generation to be able to have that data only provided in a context and erased later as opposed to being available outside. And really having secured enterprise instances which give you an ability to ensure that your data is being used appropriately in a secure environment. Just as we've moved from on-prem to the cloud and begun to develop a sense of what secure cloud looks like, especially in a government situation, what does that look like in terms of secure enterprise instances for the major capabilities, especially in the Gen AI world, where much information is being uploaded by your staff directly into the platform. So do it in a platform that is dedicated to secure to you. Policies that encourage the use of AI, because ultimately we want people to be exploring, trying. What we don't try and don't learn about will have increased fear, and we'll end up, in some cases, making bad decisions about how we should be using AI to some extent based upon a lack of knowledge. And finally, clarity on what can and cannot be uploaded, making sure it's easy for our folks to understand. Again, this circles back to data and privacy protection. What types of documents are appropriate to upload for research, for content generation, for imaging, for training development, and what ones just aren't? All these are things you should be thinking about when you develop your policy. We understand that there's a lot we've covered here already today, and ultimately, you have an opportunity when you're thinking about how AI can be helpful to you, beyond the fact that we as individuals might already be engaged in daily use. Are you to work to align AI to your strategy objectives? If you have a specific challenge that you're working on in your department, in your organization, maybe across organizations that you're collaboratively working on together in a project or program, how is AI potentially helpful to that strategy? But also, how is it impactful? It could be things going on outside of your organization that others could be doing with AI that could impact that strategy. Angela, your hand's up. You're on mute, Angela.
Sorry about that. Ling has a question. She said, what should you be aware of when the vendor approach you for their AI training using your data by giving you incentives?
What a great question. So it's difficult without knowing the specifics to be able to answer that generically, but let me give you some markers that I think you should consider when you're trying to determine whether their request or offer is appropriate or not. First of all, is this data we want to share externally with another party or not? Yes or no? And if it's not data we want to share, then the answer is it's nice that you're offering us incentive, but we're not going to share that. If there's some benefit that we're getting from sharing it with you, if you're going to provide some value add to us, then let's talk about what that looks like. And is that incentive sufficient that it will allow us to be able to capitalize on that particular determination to provide you with the data. In addition to that, I would add what's going to happen with that data when they get it. Are they going to train a model on it? Is it going to become publicly available? Or is that information being used in a secure way, again, within an instance that's controlled by you? Those are the kinds of questions that I would suggest you go through in order for us to think about, is this appropriate or not? And we'd be happy to go offline with you and talk about that more. Because ultimately, this is a great example of making AI work for you. We know that every time we pick up the phone and we talk to, hey, SIRI or other things, they're listening and their information is going into the public cloud of that particular tool and is being used to crowdsource information around the world and train AI. That's what's happening. You have the ability, though, in your organization to decide what happens with your data. And just deciding to hand it to others without being clear of what the value is probably not the best course. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you for answering that. Bob has a question. What do you think of data tracking tools such as iBoss?
That's a great question. I think that data tracking tools are rapidly evolving in terms of their capability. And I think that one of the things that we have to be aware of is that as AI starts to be, I said data is the platform on which we're all sort of living and AI is learning. So an ability to leverage AI to do more data tracking is going to become extremely important. So I would say it's a rapidly growing field that we need to track very closely.
Okay. I see here in the chat that the main concern for most people is the data fragmentation. So as people are looking to align, explore, and prepare, and to protect their assets, maybe we can have a conversation and go even deeper.
Yeah, I just want to close on that, and I'll turn it back over to you. I want to ask if there's any more questions. As you are working on this, as you're beginning to explore pilots, one thing I just want to be really, really clear with folks is that we see a gap, a crossing the chasm gap between pilots that organizations are doing and what scaling looks like. So if you're going to be going from, this is really cool, we could do this, to, wow, look, we're doing this, there's that middle portion that you have to actually think about while you're still in the pilot. Because that could be where data governance, data readiness, employee awareness, employee training need to really come into bear. It could be that you're going to have to invest a little bit to really make that scaling work. Let me give you a good example. You might say, hey, we're going to put some cameras over here and start using this to monitor particular traffic patterns. And based on those traffic patterns, we're going to see if it could give us better information about fines. Like, for example, we saw in that Philadelphia study. Okay, well then, are you going to put something in your capital budget that's potentially a marker that says if that works, we're going to be able to scale that quickly and put those AI cameras out there on all our buses and our trolleys. That is a good example of thinking about scaling during your pilot process in order for you to move quickly from success to success. Another one is preparing your workforce and infrastructure. If you do not have an employee awareness program around AI, a program where we're helping your employees think about AI in a way that is consistent with the values of the organization, the mission of the organization, and the policies of the organization, then that is not just an opportunity missed, that's a risk you're creating, because I guarantee you they're off using AI today, and you need to get ahead of that and think about how they should be using AI smartly and safely in the future. With that, I'll stop sharing and turn it back over to you, Angela, to see if there's any more questions we can work with on the team here today.
Thank you. That was an excellent close. Any more questions? Please post in the chat. This is your moment to shine. How do you get started? In case you have decided that you want to proceed, you can certainly reach out to me at agibson@abrahamsconsulting.com. Do you want to show that slide with my contact information?
Absolutely.
Here at Abraham's Consulting, as I mentioned, we've been in business, serving the government, the public sector really, for the past 19 years. And we would love to schedule a personalized consultation in collaboration with GlobeNorth to explore what specific areas of concern you have around the journey, because we're on a journey with AI. As he said, it's a moving target. So
it's an exciting moving target, isn't it?
Yes, yes. Somebody has a question. Ling, how often should an oversight committee review AI policy?
Wow, great question. So remember I suggested that's an iterative process. I think if you have an AI governance process, where the group that's responsible for policy meets periodically, at least once a quarter, and asks the question, what's going on in the environment? What are new things that might be coming up? Those new things might require you to react in terms of, let's consider a tweak to our existing policy. That's probably a good pulse at this point. But I want to point out that quarterly rhythm, that quarterly cadence is in some cases not going to be enough. Things might just happen in a given week that might say, hey, let's have a quick huddle, let's meet. Based upon that meeting, we're going to issue a update to our guidance based on what we learned today. And that's because these things are changing so quickly. Those of you who are familiar with the fact that ChatGPT went through a major release last week from ChatGPT to 4 to 5, when that happened, there could have been additional things that were in the environment that we had to be aware of if we were already having, for example, that particular capability used in our enterprises. We want to be on top of that, and that could require you to respond very quickly. Hopefully, Ling, that answered your question.
Thank you so much. Any other questions, anyone?
I have one. I'd love people to type in the chat. Was this webinar helpful today? Was it good for us to share with you where we see AI today, where we see it going tomorrow, and especially in the public sector? What are some key things you need to think about to make sure it really works smartly and safely for you? Any feedback?
Yes, Andrea says very helpful. Bob says, yes, it was. Thanks. Bob, much appreciated. Daisy, thank you very much. Lynn, yes. Syed, indeed it was. Robert, yes, thanks for the info. Yeah, people are grateful. And we look forward to being able to speak with you individually about your specific use case. Have a great day. I appreciate your attendance, and we will certainly be in touch. Here from Abraham's Consulting, we're signing off. And thank you, GlobeNorth, for your collaboration and for the panel
really
here
appreciate
at
it.
Abraham's. Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a great day. Thank you, Syed.